who should listen to you and what type of person would listen to you and wind up losing everything?
Well, I think every investor should listen to me for my ideas. And then they should take those ideas and do their own research and try to poke holes in them and try to vet them, come up with their own thesis that might or might not have anything to do with my idea, and then assess their own level of risk tolerance and make the trade that's correct for them. Okay. One of the things that I do that I think I don't get enough credit for is I will always spend more time trying to understand the other side of my trades than I do my own thesis. So I've spent more time this year trying to understand why people are not excited about Amazon and why they might even be short hyperscalers and Amazon than I have with my own thesis. Because in order for you to gain real conviction on a trade, you have to understand the other side of the trade. Because once you understand why people disagree with you, you can now make a proper assessment of whether you think they're right or wrong. But you got to hear them out. And that's really meaningful. So you should listen to me because I have really strong takes. I do a tremendous amount of work on my high conviction trades. There are very few people right now that will spend 50 to 100 hours researching a single trade. And if you could find those people, I'm going to listen to every one of them that I know do that, right? So I'm going to hear them out. That doesn't mean you should copy my trade. It doesn't even mean you should be influenced by.
So what do you say to the people though that just see, oh, Chris bought this, let me go and buy this too, or let me buy call options on this?
Actually insane, because if you don't develop your own sense of conviction, then you're not going to be able to make the right decisions around that trade, especially when it goes wrong, right? Because if you actually have real conviction because you put in the actual work that you should be doing on these trades, then you're going to be aware of how to frame the trade. You're going to understand that there's a chance that trade one could go wrong, but you're going to have money and conviction to make that trade again the next week. And that's actually more often than not an opportunity, because what I've been saying for months, I hope Amazon goes down. I hope Amazon goes down, right? And it did. It went down. That just opens up an opportunity. Truthfully, I got really more killed by Bloom than anything else, and other AI trades. It wasn't like Amazon that killed me, because guys, as Amazon went down, I just been piling in again the whole way up.
What's the number one trade you've ever done?
Amazon, NVIDIA, Palantir, Robinhood. A lot of the biggest trades I've made in terms of actual returns, not just percentage, but actual dollar returns, have mostly come in the last 2 years.
Because you have more money now?
Exactly.
Yeah. And so the figure that's being thrown around is the 20,000 to 80 million. Is 80 million approximately what you've traded up from this 20,000?
Yeah, it's approximately what I've generated in returns. Again, you pay taxes on those returns. As you guys know, I've invested in 160 private companies. So essentially every year for the past 17 years, I paid my taxes. I've then taken money out for living expenses, and then the majority that was left, I would invest in private companies, which again was the biggest mistake of my life, because I should have just left all the money in that public.
Do you actually mean that? Because a few of your private company investments seem like they're doing incredibly well.
No, in aggregate, they've returned 10 or 12% in aggregate, as opposed to the 60 to 70% I've been averaging in my public portfolio for 17 years. So no, financially, it would have been meaningfully better. I'd be somewhere in the hundreds and hundreds of millions. I'd be $600 or $700 million now if I would have just kept the money in the brokerage account and never invested in a single private company. I wouldn't have met the interesting people I've met over the past 16 years. So I don't regret doing it for that, because I've met so many amazing people. I'm in so many deals. I've learned so much. And guys, you know this. I have at least one massively large private investment that could end up making me something close to that if it hits in the next few years.
At what point is the risk just not worth it? Because Jack and I were talking last night. How much do you decide to put on each trade? Let's say there's a 20% chance you get 100x. but an 80% chance it goes to zero. How do you know how much to put in that, or if that's a deal worth taking?
Again, everyone has to answer that question for themselves because everyone has a different degree of risk tolerance based on what you need to live, versus what your account objective is. There are a lot of people that do not have an objective to make hundreds of millions or $1 billion. They don't even know what they would do with it, right? I'm obviously doing it for noble causes. You guys know me. I have big philanthropic goals in my life, but most people would generate very little additional value beyond 10 or 20 or $30 million. So why would they put everything at risk to become destitute to make more money that they would probably not make them any more fulfilled in life or content with their life? So like everyone has to make their own decision. But for me, I'll take that bet all day long. Like if it's a high probability, I'll take it because I have everything I want in life. I don't need anything more in life. I'm set for the rest of my life. And the money that is in my trading account is there to aggressively grow for something big that I'm trying to achieve in life. And that's what I do. So like it has a very clear objective, and I will never hit that objective if I am not concentrated and levered in my high conviction trades. And so I will continue to do that, knowing that there is a very tiny chance that I can make 6 or 7 of these high conviction trades in a row that all go bad and the account gets wiped out. But that's my risk tolerance. That's for me only and nobody else in this world. So that's the risk tolerance that makes sense for my account objective and no one else. And it's not my fault if some random person sees one line of text out of hundreds of hours of video content and literally thousands to tens of thousands of tweets and knows nothing about me and is like, this random person just did this, so I'm going to do it too. Like, what sense does that make? That makes no sense. And if you're going to get irritated at me, like I cannot go over my entire account objective every time I say something on Twitter. That wouldn't make sense. What would my tweets look like? I'd have to have like paragraphs and paragraphs of this is who I am. This is what I'm trying to do. I have these other accounts. I have restaurants that cash flow for me. My houses are paid off. I can't do that. It's insane that people expect that.
What is the rule that you follow to determine your risk tolerance floor? Like, what is the base amount of quality of life or maximum amount of risk that you are willing to take on?
Now, really quick, every business is asking themselves the same question. How do we make AI work for us? The possibilities are limitless, but guessing is too risky, and sitting on the sidelines is not an option because one thing is certain. If you're not doing it, your competitors are already making their move.
And that's where our sponsor NetSuite by Oracle comes in. It's the #1 AI cloud ERP, trusted by over 43,000 businesses to manage everything from financials and inventory to commerce, HR, and CRM, all in one unified system.
When all of your data is in one place, your AI becomes a lot smarter. It doesn't just guess. It knows. NetSuite intelligently automates routine tasks, delivers real-time insights, and helps you make fast, confident decisions that actually help drive growth.
And it's not just an add-on, it's AI that's literally built right into the system that runs your business, helping you cut costs, improve accuracy, and stay ahead of the competition.
Whether your company is making millions or even hundreds of millions, NetSuite gives you visibility and control to keep moving forward. Honestly, if I were building a business of this size, NetSuite's the only company that I have 100% confidence in.
So if your revenues are at least in the 7 figures, get our completely free business guide, Demystifying AI, at netsuite.com/clips.
Again, the guide is free for you at netsuite.com/clips, netsuite.com/clips, with the link down below in the description.
What is the rule that you follow to determine your risk tolerance floor? Like, what is the base amount of quality of life or maximum amount of risk that you are willing to take on?
I have confidence I'm not going to make 6 high conviction trades wrong in a row. And I would have to make 6 in a row to lose all my money. So like, just do the math on that, you know? Like I do it 6 in a row and I'm dead. So like I've never made more than like 2 bad calls in a row that were high conviction. Could it happen? Could it kind of go to 3? Like really big high conviction calls.
What about for the people who say that you can't consistently beat the market? It seems like you have consistently beat the market.
There are a ton of people that consistently beat the market. Tons. They're in my community. They've been doing it for 10 years, and they're just regular people. There are so many people out there that have generated 15 to 25% returns for 10 to 15 years.
Do you think, though, that if you just have enough people, and let's just say everyone threw a dart on a board, with enough people, there would be a small subset of those people who just consistently get it right and maybe attribute that to skill rather than just a bit of luck, too?
Yeah, of course. Survivorship bias is a portion of those. Not everything's black and white, right? It's not like everyone that has consistently beat the market over 10 years has done so because they have a great methodology and a system. And not everyone that's done that over 10 years has done it just purely because of survivorship bias. So I think we have to take a look at each individual and say, okay, what do you do? How do you beat the market? What I do is so transparent and simple. I simply try to uncover change in the world quicker than others and connect dots to companies that would benefit from that change. I try to find the ground truth and information asymmetry when the world is confused about something because they're caught up in noise and misinformation. And I actually did the homework to figure out what's true, knowing that that will eventually surface. And I make my bets. That's what I did with Amazon, right? So like what I do is not mysterious. I don't have like some black box mysterious trading system. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just freaking makes sense. Like I don't know how else to say it. Like I don't know how else to say it, guys. Like you know my method. I've had like 70 trades, 80 trades over 17 years, and every one of them has a story. I invested in Amazon early on when I went to Reddit forums and technology forums and saw a lot of technologists talking about migrating to the cloud at their company. Well, tons of devs are migrating their company's data to the cloud. This AWS is going to be a big deal. I'm going to invest in Amazon because of AWS, because I was essentially able to see cloud computing as it was emerging. Does that seem mystical to you, or does that just make sense? Right? Like it's not like that difficult to understand what I do. And I think that's the problem that most people have with it. They're like, it's not that it is that easy, but it's also hard because you can't do that and be on Twitter all day paying attention to all this stupid noise. You know, like you have to, if you want to do that, you have to clear your mind. You actually have to see what's real.